Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. We're here watching First Things First with Nick Wright's tiers for the remaining playoff teams. And you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing that. So without further ado, let's get to it. There's not too much to say at the top, except because we don't know. I mean, I have a feeling of where he's going to put the teams. It's probably going to be the Chiefs at the top, of course, because it's Nick Wright. Chiefs, Ravens, 49ers, and what's the other team? Detroit Lions. That's probably what he's going to have it as, would be my guess.
Fought and toiled and burnt the midnight oil to make the best segment in all of sports media. It's an honor and a privilege. It's time for moderately short, abridged, succinct Nick's tiers.
Yes, but unlike, the first cousin of the tiers, the herd hierarchy, we're not going to abandon it just because we would finally have to have the Chiefs ahead of the Bills and just scotch the entire segment and claim it's because there's only 4 teams left. I saw you do it, Colin. I was very disappointed. Well, the committee met. The committee ranked these 4 teams, and then we had a little extra bonus at the end. Bottom of the tier, same old Niners. That is the Niners. Do you have a healthy quarterback? Guess what? You make the NFC Championship game. That's how it's worked with Kyle Shanahan when they've had a healthy quarterback. And if in the NFC Championship game you can manage to not have to throw the football,
the Niners at the bottom.
You can make the Super Bowl.
So then I guess the Lions up top.
No matter how good the 1 year they did was the year, of course, Jimmy threw the ball 8 times. They won by 17 points. Maybe that can be the game plan against the Lions, but usually at some point your quarterback in this round or the next is going to have to make a play. That's why they don't have any jewelry to go along with them, but maybe Bruce Wright, they're not the same old Niners, and maybe Brock Purdy can continue his awesome season as a less than awesome player with an awesome Super Bowl. We shall see. Underrated and under-discussed, the Lions. We are guilty of it, under-discussing this team. We are not now, we of the committee, not guilty of underrating the Lions. We did a little research. In Week 7, they were Tier 2. They were Tier 3 in Week 11. They were called scary in real life. They were called Final Four upside. They were even called Super Bowl contenders. But despite all of that, the Lions seem to be a team that has been considered cute and cuddly, a good story, but not a real championship contender, despite the fact that they started the season going into a team stadium that a lot of very smart people thought was going to win every single game of the year, and they beat them. I mean...
Didn't he have Tampa Bay beating the Detroit Lions? I'm pretty sure he did. So isn't he one of those people that's, underrating them? Which I guess he did say that this show's guilty of that. But I guess I thought maybe more because of under-discussed.
Probably the best team.
What?
I mean, they're probably the best team, guys. There's not really an argument against it. They had the best record. They have the league MVP. They have an excellent offense. They have an excellent defense. They have an excellent head coach. Right.
My take from yesterday.
And guess what, Drew? There are members of the committee, no matter what I tell them, that think you're the smartest guy on the show. I don't know what they're watching, but they like a lot of your takes. And they remind me of another team that checked all those boxes. The best record, the arguable MVP candidate. In fact, they also wore purple. And that was we got across sports a couple decades ago, but the 2002 60-plus win Sacramento Kings. And of course, who they ran into, the 0-2 Lakers. That was going to try to get their third championship, trying to cement the dynasty. They were the 3 seed after being the 1 seed so often. They had to go on the road for their toughest series was, of course, their conference finals. Some people even make officiating hijinks accusations. But at the end of the day, what happened was they had Shaq, Kobe, and Phil. So at the end of the day, you have Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed. That is the conference championship team.
So here, let me go back real fast. Okay. All right. This is actually good. I'm glad this is done this way because at first I thought it was going to be pretty straightforward and we were just going to have to switch around the Ravens and the Chiefs, because we knew he was going to put the Chiefs at the top, and you couldn't put the Ravens any lower than 2, because that would just be absurd. I think it goes Ravens at the top, San Francisco 49, Ravens at the top, San Francisco 49ers second, then the Chiefs third, then the Detroit Lions fourth. And that's not disrespecting the Lions. I just think the way I look at it is if the Chiefs will lose to the Ravens and the Chiefs would lose to the 49ers, as long as Brock Purdy, buzzword, Brock Purdy plays well, as long as Brock Purdy doesn't have like a complete meltdown and proves to not be a great quarterback and just, gets completely rattled, which again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but outside of that happening, I would say that the 49ers are definitely better than the Chiefs, even though obviously the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But I think the Chiefs would legitimately, it would be a coin flip against the Lions. I think that would be a really interesting matchup where I think it would be a genuine coin flip. I think the other matchups are not coin flips. I think the Ravens beat the 49ers. I think the Ravens beat the Chiefs. I think the Ravens beat the Lions. I think the 49ers would beat the Lions. I think the 49ers would beat Kansas City. So I just think it's a little bit different in that regard. But I think the 49ers versus the Detroit Lions is definitely a very interesting matchup, because I'm curious though, because now I'm wondering, is Nick going to have the Lions, winning that game? Because I'm curious, because if he thinks that they're better, then if he doesn't have them winning, then why not? So I am curious to see. I don't know if we'll talk about that today or on Friday. They might save those predictions for Friday. But I would think that the 49ers game versus Detroit will be significantly closer than people think. And what I keep saying is that I think either the 49ers will blow out Detroit Lions or Detroit Lions will win a close game. I think those are really the only one of two options. I don't think Detroit will win that game and just stay in command of that game throughout the whole game. And you'll just be like, oh, the Detroit Lions just outmatched the 49ers. Like, no, it'll be one of those tight kind of back and forth games, or one of those weird games where not a lot is happening. And it's like, oh my God, can anyone break through here? Or the 49ers just come out hot and just steamroll and pull away. I think there's the possibility that it's a close game, not unlike the Ravens versus the Texans, where like at half, you're like, oh man, what's kind of going on here? And then boom, the Ravens just blow it wide open. I think that's definitely a possibility. And I think it's kind of similar with the Ravens. And again, we'll talk about this later when we're actually really doing breakdowns of those matchups. But I just think that this tiers right now, I just don't understand. There's no reason to put the Chiefs all the way at the top. I understand because of their history. I understand that. And I understand because of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I get it. But the Ravens are clearly the best team right now. And he even says that, I mean, probably the best team. No, you don't mean probably the best team. They are indeed the best team. It's indisputable. And the 49ers have absolutely positively been playing better football than the Chiefs. And it's not particularly close. It's not even remotely close. The 49ers have been, without a doubt, been playing better football than the Chiefs. Start to finish, offense and defense, just a better, more complete football. And beating better teams by more points, and giving up less. The Chiefs have been suspect all season. And then again, under-discussed and underrated for Detroit Lions. That is what makes the Lions so tricky, because it is hard to, as much as I always say, like, let's throw out the past, let's just throw it all out and let's just focus on, this season or the last few weeks even, or just the playoffs. And that is the problem, because the Lions, for the most part, if we really want to be honest with ourselves, we're really only looking at the Lions within the last 2 years. Like, right, thinking about what the Lions did in the 90s, right? I always hate when they say, oh, they say this with the Cowboys all the time. Oh, the Cowboys always blow it. And you're like, you're referencing teams from like the 2000s. It's like, that has nothing to do with Dak Prescott and McCarthy and any of the other, and CeeDee Lamb and stuff like. There's nothing to do with it. It's not there's unless we say that the Cowboys actually have a soul within their team organization. It's like it doesn't make any sense. So I always hate when they say that this is the history of the Cowboys. This is the history of whoever. So that doesn't matter. So we're really realistically we're looking at the Lions within the last 2 seasons. And it's like, well, who are the Lions in these last 2 seasons? And also realistically, who they are this season, even if they have a lot of the same players, 1, they have new players, and 2, the same players are significantly better than they were last year versus this year because they were either rookies or just, getting their footing. And so it's different. You get more settled. You're going to get better. You're going to get physically stronger. You're going to get smarter. You're going to understand the game more. That's why, rookies are rookies and vets are vets. And so to me, there's nothing harder than trying to figure out how good a team is when they just start finally getting good. Look at the Packers, right? It's like, since you weren't seeing this before, you have to question, is this the new norm for, say, the Packers? Or is this just a really, really good season? Because we've seen this so many times with lots of teams who look like they're going to be really good, and then they're not. I mean, lots of ex-players talk about this, right? They make it to the Super Bowl and they don't win, or the NBA Finals or World Series, and they say, next year, we're going to get back here. And they never do. So you just don't know. And I think that's kind of the situation that you're in with the Lions. You're like, is this just a great year? Were they able to just really connect all the dots? Or is this the Lions' new normal, competing for, NFC championship games year after year or for at least the next few handful of years? You just don't know. And that's why there is more trust around a team like the 49ers, because over a longer timeline, they've consistently shown what they're capable of with not only existing players that they have who have either improved or become, healthier, at least within this season versus other seasons. And then, a lot of people will say that they upgraded the quarterback position, and maybe Shanahan grew as a coach too, right? I have to assume he's learning from his mistakes and his losses. So he's, most likely even improving as a coach as well, which I don't think a lot of people ever really consider, is that coaches improve too. They get smarter, they learn. And if they don't, then, then that's how you end up like Bill Belichick, right? You end up fired. So, and I don't think that these newer, smarter coaches like the Shanahans, McVays, Reeds, although Reed is obviously not new, I don't think they fall to that trap. But so I think that's why you're just like, well, what can the Detroit Lions do in this situation? What can they do in this moment? And for me personally, it's hard to figure out.
You have Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed. That is the conference championship tiers, Greg Jennings.
Wow. I absolutely want to vomit looking at those.
Oh, look at Greg.
That is terrible.
Beef on that side.
Why is it terrible?
Because, number one, we see the Chiefs. Like, this is all messed up. Like, if I were to rank these tiers, I would definitely have the Chiefs down lower. And so that's where I'm going to focus. I'm going to focus on the Chiefs because I believe the Ravens, as well as the San Francisco 49ers, should be atop of the Kansas City Chiefs. So for me, when I look at these teams, it's not the standard.
It sounds like it. I would have the 1 seeds up at the top.
What it sounds like is a resume, and who has the best resume.
This isn't LinkedIn.
I mean, that's basically what the Kansas City Chiefs are when you're talking about the Lakers and all that. So for me, when I look at these season comparisons, you look at these teams because we understand it's not the ranking. So let's just look at the seasons, including the playoffs. Look at the points per game. These are real numbers.
Wow.
These 2 teams, the Ravens and the 49ers, produce points. That is something that I know you have to do in order to win games. We'll see if the Chiefs can do it this weekend. Yeah. Passing touchdowns to interceptions, 31 to, is that, wait.
It's a good graphic. I'll give you that.
Does Patrick Mahomes play for the Chiefs?
Oh.
Because 17 interceptions, and then when you look to the right, you got 7 with obviously Lamar and Purdy. Passer rating. Mahomes, what I'm trying to tell you is the Chiefs are last in all these categories. So how in the world are we just trying to take all of what we know the Chiefs were and just mask and bandage and put all this stuff up as if
Oh, they're back.
I mean, I'll tell you.
They're not
Because,
back.
I mean, those were regular season numbers. These are the playoff
They
tiers.
were regular season and playoff.
Okay, well then that's very odd because in the postseason as the playoff tiers, if the Ravens and Niners offenses are so awesome, how come the Chiefs have scored 53 points this postseason and they're in the 30s?
Oh, they.
Tell me why.
Well,
Tell me why
they
exactly.
played
Go on.
teams without
Ravens,
They only
defenders.
played one game.
No, well, it's actually
Chiefs
because the
played
Ravens
two.
and Niners have only played one game each. It wasn't
Right.
because of the defenders, it was because of the extra game. But go ahead.
I would like to see Greg's graphic again.
Oh, I don't think that's how.
Can I see that graphic again? Dusty! All right. The Niners, those are some high numbers, Wild.
Yeah, you like
Points per
those.
game, 29 essentially.
They're second
34 to
behind the
12 TD interception. Look at the passer rating,
Why do you
number
put passer
one.
rating on that, Greg?
Who is the quarterback for that team?
No.
Brock Purdy?
He's a good quarterback.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Greg. That's all I've been wanting to hear. He's
I'm
a
saying-
good quarterback.
You and I
He's
agree.
A very good quarterback.
Oh, well, then you
All right,
added
here
the
we go.
very there.
I'm with Greg. They should be Baltimore, San Francisco, Kansas City,
Wilds.
Detroit.
Go get these guys in USA
it's
Today.
not the standings.
That
It's
is
Detroit.
the standings.
What was Detroit's rate? It was the same as Kansas City.
Yeah.
So I'm putting Kansas City ahead of Detroit.
Right, and they beat Kansas City.
Right. So it's not the standings and all that.
It sounds like a power ranking.
Yeah, I mean,
Those are my power rankings.
Okay,
and
well, that's-
how they should look.
Save
but
them.
look, I like to give the audience something. San Francisco should not be on the bottom, and that is ridiculous. And I like to give people something they can't get elsewhere.
Oh, good.
They could dig. If they really want to go through the all 22 and really get gritty with it, they could.
standings.
But I dug for this. Didn't even get it from Josh or Dusty.
Well, then
everybody's
might not be
saying,
right, America.
everybody's saying without Debo, the Niners offense is dead, especially Brock Purdy. What in the world can he do without Debo? Because Debo's, 50-50 still? 4 games. Now, they lost 2 games without Debo this year. But guess who else was out? Trent Williams, the all-pro left tackle.
Yeah.
And guess who was banged up? Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy has played 4 games in the last 2 years without Debo, but with Trent Williams, who will be playing this weekend. And he's 4-0. Greg, points per game is even better than your graphic.
this all last
29,
year?
No, 3 games last year and 1 this year.
okay.
Because I'm counting the Detroit game.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm sorry, the last week's game as without Debo.
Wait.
4-0 because he was out early.
He was out most of the game.
Yeah, he was out most of the game.
this is why Josh and Dusty wouldn't do this.
4-0, 29.7 points a game, Wilds. And 2 of the teams they beat, Seattle and last week.
Yeah, no, you can play playoff teams. Multiple teams. One of those teams was the Commanders. I looked this up literally just yesterday because I was talking to someone in the comments about it, and I don't remember exactly what the stats were. But the dude had like 5 interceptions. He had two interception games, and I think 2 1 interception games. Okay, so hardly that great. And again, a bunch of those wins were against really bad teams or just not good teams. It was Seattle. Seattle was not impressive last year. Okay, they just got into the playoffs, as well as the Commanders. Wow, guys, congratulations on beating the Commanders. I think this is why people think that I'm such a Purdy hater, because especially if you're only seeing this video and you didn't just see my last video where I literally praised Brock Purdy and went on a whole long rant about Brock Purdy. But so again, those types of stats can be so misleading. I don't care what Brock Purdy has done without Debo against the Commanders. Okay, I do not care. I do not care. People, guys, I'm from the Eastern Conference, the Eastern Division. So, you know, the East, the NFC East, and all I hear is about how amazing Dak Prescott is because he just feasts off of the Giants and the Commanders. Tell me what that does when Dak Prescott now has to play really, really good teams with a winning record. Dak Prescott has a losing record against teams with a winning record. Dak Prescott has a losing record against playoff teams. So again, I don't care what you do against the Commanders, what you do against the Giants, what you do against Seattle, who's not that good. Again, they made it to the playoffs. They tried to pump them into this big story. Look at Geno Smith. Look how amazing this is, you know, and they were obviously not that good. So it's a silly narrative.
Playoff teams. So they're going to be fine even if Debo can't go. Because Purdy
I understand.
and McCaffrey and Kittle and Ayuk Trent Williams.
If I'm understanding that correctly, last year Brock Purdy played well without Debo. This year in the 2 games without him, he played poorly and they lost. And
no,
this
you
year,
need Trent Williams. Because the offensive line is not highly ranked.
And this week,
it's the
he
worst
went out and Purdy
offensive line of the teams still playing.
Okay, dynasty
Especially
time.
without Trent Williams.
Again, we're going to restart it. Last night.
All right. Well, so that's a different pyramid, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, I think Nick obviously has it wrong. I think what Greg and Brew were saying is definitely the more appropriate ratings. I don't know why Brew brought up Purdy and Debo right now. Like, I don't get what that necessarily had to do with this specific segment. I understand the conversation as a whole, but not with this specific segment. So, but what do you all think? Where do you think the team should rank within this? I guess it's not a pyramid, right? It's a tier system. Do you think the Chiefs should be that high? Do you think they should get the benefit of the doubt because of Mahomes? Do you think people are now suddenly sleeping on the 49ers, even though the 49ers are technically favored to win the Super Bowl via Vegas odds, at least? What do you all think? Would love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would love to see you part of it. And please give this video a thumbs up, as it really helps with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.